Kiddush Levana on a moon that is actually shining. This is a very, very bad, erroneous misconception. Very poor. Menachem says that this is a very foolish statement, because the mitzvah is to be Kiddush Levana when you see it. Since legally this is considered seeing it, this person is deliberately bypassing the mitzvah, deliberately delaying it, and is committing a very grievous error. So we have to know this. The Menachem said, in this case, the Azoris and Makdim say Kiddush Levana even if it is seen through a light cloud. Again, of course, you must be able to make out the Levana, not if there's no figure to it. If there is a light cloud over it, it's definitely mutter mitzvah to be Kiddush Levana. More halachas in this respect we'll take up in later. We should be zecher mekayim this mitzvah chashuva, extraordinary mitzvah of Kiddush Levana, mekayim to see when it'll become this mali the begin to Levana will be as machshir the kind of head of because we're Kiddush Levana. We said that there is a cloud covering the Levana, and the Levana is not visible at all. It's a bracha l'vatala. You cannot say the bracha at all. But if the cloud is transparent enough to see through the shape of the Levana, and surely it's a mitzvah to be Kaddish Levana, not to wait for a later moment when the Levana might be clear. These are my feelings. It's very vital to be Kaddish Levana as quickly, as soon as possible. Now, if a person begins the bracha, he starts the bracha while the Levana is visible. Then the cloud covers the Levana. First half of the bracha he said while the Levana is there. Second half while the Levana is not there, he's Yotze. As long as he started kosher, it was covered in the middle, it's permissible, Yotze with the bracha and Kiddush Levana. Of course, once he finishes the bracha, it can go on for the rest of all the tefillahs, that doesn't matter. The main thing is the bracha to be said while the Levana is visible. So as long as he started with the Levana visible, he's Yotze. However, that's if the cloud came and covered it without, not due to his own neglect. He didn't cause the cloud to cover it, but he wasn't aware that the cloud was going to cover it. But if he saw, it was obvious, the sky, you could see the sky very clearly, the movement of the clouds. You could see that the clouds are moving at a rapid pace. And you can see that if he starts the bracha, and without a question of doubt, the cloud will come and cover the middle of the bracha, that's a pshia. That already is definitely also he's not allowed to start the bracha. He knows in advance definitely that the one will be covered. Therefore, if it happened, did he started the bracha, he figured, conjectured, he didn't know exactly, he wasn't sure either way. He hoped that the one would be visible throughout the bracha. It turned out that it wasn't. He's yet as long as he started the bracha without a cloud. If he knows in advance the cloud is going to cover it, it's definitely also to start the bracha. Saying the Kiddush Levana, a special mitzvah to say it standing directly under the heavens, not under a roof or an overhang or a canopy, surely not inside the house. It must be standing outside, and it's even proper to look up and see that he's not standing under a tree where the branches separate between himself and the heaven. Try to stand clear of anything over his head. Nothing between his head and the heaven while he says the Kiddush Levana. If, however, the person is sick, well, if he's sick, he cannot go outside. It's impossible. Or for some other reason, it's impossible for him to go out. And it's the last day or last days, what should he do? In that case, then it is permissible for him to say Kiddush Levana inside the house. If he could put his head out of the window, perfect. If he can't, it's also okay, but you cannot have a mechitza separating him between himself and the Levana. Therefore, he must open the window so he can see the Levana directly, not through a window. This, of course, is very simple in the summertime. Wintertime, it's 0 degrees outside. Open the window wide, it becomes 0 degrees inside. But just time, enough time to say the bracha alone, that much time a person can afford. But to say the Kiddush Levana, the derchik, it's not in his control. You can take Kiddush Levana in the house with an open window. However, the Chatchila, a person should always see to it that Kiddush Levana is said Dafka standing Tachas Kapas Hashemayim, under the sky. Then the Kiddush Levana is said properly. Should be the to understand the chashivus of this mitzvah, and our tefillah should be strong enough, fetish enough, malay begimas halavona, which means, of course, that the Shekhinah should return. Begimas halavona is the symbol of Dam Nida. Dam Nida, where the Shekhinah is Nifrad Mibala. Shekhinah Begalusa. Zechet to be Kasha, the Yachid, the Shekhinah should come back, should return, and the Shalabon and the Gulam, the Yasam Shekhinah, the Eila, the place is Kiddush Levana. It says that the mitzvah of Kiddush Levana is one that should be done with simcha. Mitzvah to go out and to receive, confront the Shekhinah. One stands for the Shekhinah. One is Malchus, is the Shekhinah. Go out to receive the Shekhinah. Kabbalah B'nai Shekhinah is supposed to go out simcha. Supposed to go out when you're feeling well, happy. And also when you're dressed fit to receive the Shekhinah itself. To be dressed for the occasion. Therefore, according to the din, mitzvah me'amucha, I mean the best mitzvah is to be Mekadosh Le'olam Motzoi Shabbos Kodesh. Motzoi Shabbos, a person is dressed well, a person is still filled with the simcha of Shabbos, a person just finished eating Shalosh Shudas. As a whole, there's an aura of Kedusha, of simcha, of a special occasion, the way he's dressed, the way he feels. So therefore, the mitzvah is to be Mekadosh Le'olam Motzoi Shabbos. This, of course, is so, but at the same time, that is definitely so. At the same time, there's another mitzvah, which is so important, that it could overshadow this too. Mitzvah of Liza and Makdim in the mitzvahs. A person has a chance to be Mekadosh Levana earlier, that mitzvah is so great, it's more important than this. At the same time, let's say a person has a chance to be Mekadosh Levana Thursday, rather than wait till Shabbos. Still, at least he should see to it that Thursday is a day when he's a little better dressed, put on a jacket, a coat, or something is fit for Kabbalah B'nai Shekhinah, and also he should need a simcha. So we have therefore halacha that, for example, mitzvah is always Yisra Makdim. Mekadosh Levana as early as possible. Don't wait for the 10th day, for the 7th day. However, there are 2 months in which even Yisra Makdim, even those who hurry, still wait. They wait for more than a week has passed. The month of Av, I know that the first 9 days, Shchodesh Av until Tisha B'Av, those are days of mourning, days of Avelos. Those are days in which there isn't as a show, not the right kind of a mazel that we like for the Jews. Therefore, the Gemara says, the Tzaddik Kodesh brings that a person should avoid doing things in those 9 days. You should avoid even going to trial because the mazel is not what you like it to be. Because those are days that are unhappy, it is therefore unfit to be Mekadosh Levana. Even those who generally are makdim, they rush to do the mitzvah, they still wait until after Tisha B'Av is over. After Tisha B'Av is ended, and the sadness is gone, then it's fit to be Mekadosh Levana. Shaila is only that a person has to be happy, also Musa, which means not sad, not feeling badly physically. After a tonus, it's a shaila. A person doesn't feel that good after a tonus. So, I'd say Tisha B'Av, there are those who say that at least Mekadosh Levana, at least first, after Madav, break the tunas first, eat something, and then go down to be Mekadosh Levana, and go out to Mekadosh Levana. That's one case. The second case is the month of Tishrei. It's not days of Avelos, not days of mourning, but it is days of being extremely solemn. Also, 10 days of Tshuva, Shana till Yom Kippur, those are days in which a person is not happy. Of course, you must be b'simcha. Must be b'simcha lachmechem. Has to be a simcha even with doing Tshuva, and kiruv b'odo, when you're filled with awe and fear of Hashem. Must still be b'simcha. Yet it's the kind of a simcha that's not the gilut. The person is not really elated. It's a simcha with awe and fear. Because the fear of the awesomeness of these 10 days of Tshuva and the finalizing it at Yom Kippur, Nila. Therefore, too, it is customary not to be Mekadosh Levana until after Yom Kippur is over. So Yom Kippur, then a person is really filled with simcha. He's dressed in tzadik. He's very happy because one of the happiest moments of a person's life, or at least a year, is Mitzvah Yom Kippur. When he knows that Yom Kippur is over and all these sins are erased, he feels very light, very, very much with simcha. That's why at that time it's very fitting to be Mekadosh Levana. They wait until after Yom Kippur is over, and then even without having to eat anything, simcha is so great. Until you can eat before eating, the simcha is sufficient to cover the fact that a person is fasting. So those 2 times, Av and Tishrei, though generally, you have a general rule that these are the mitzvahs, a person should always rush to do a mitzvah earlier. These 2 times all agree that the Kiddush Levana take place after these 2 days are over, after Tisha B'Av and after Yom Kippur is over. So it is again the simcha. And to realize the simcha of Dias Moshiach and Kinu, to see with our eyes and they speak the Shabbat. Kiddush Levana. The Zman for Kiddush Levana is a very controversial one. It should be clearly established, at least from our point of view. Because even among Breslov, too, is a little confusion. In the first place, we said, the Din says it's a special mitzvah to say Kiddush Levana, Mitzvah Shabbos. That's a separate, special mitzvah. Because Mitzvah Shabbos, a person feels more besimcha, he's more Shabbat, more yantivdik, there's a special feeling. And that's how you're supposed to feel. You go out to greet the Shekhinah, Levana. Also, Mitzvah Shabbos, there is a mitzvah of Bereiv Am. The more people you have saying Kiddush Levana, the bigger the cover it is for the king, for the queen. Mitzvah Shabbos, there are many more people in the shul. So, therefore, that's the time for Kiddush Levana. In addition, aside from the fact that Mitzvah Shabbos is advisable, it then says too, clearly, that Kiddush Levana should not be said until 7 days after the Moilad of the Levana. Moilad means that the new moon is born. That's always announced by, we say Kiddush HaChidush. 7 days after that, that's when the moon is already bright enough. At that time it's a full half moon. So it's better type, it appears better for the sake of the Mikadosh. That's one reason. The second reason is R Nosson himself brings in the Kutei Halachas. This is the point. R Nosson says that in 7 days, Levana, after all, is the Nukva, is the Shekhinah. Yaakov is the Kala. Kala, the Isha, in order to become pure, Tohar L'Bala, requires Shiva Nekiyah, 7 clean days, counting of 7 clean days. These 7 clean days represent the 7 days in the time of the Mailad, till 7 full days are counted. Then the Levana is pure, then it is fit to be Mikadosh Levana. Arizal writes that in the Kuti Halachas. This, we have the confusion that's set forth, because after Arizal himself says that, how come that we have sort of a very solid minhag, the Kaddish Lamana, after 3 days, not wait for 7? That too, we have a statement by the Arizal. The mitzvah is B'roiv Am. True. You have a large crowd. So Shabbos, it's a big mitzvah. Mitzvah is 7 days. But there is another mitzvah. Mitzvah is Zrizim Makdimin the mitzvahs. Zrizim means those who are quick, those who are speedy, to take advantage, take the opportunity at the hand, to rush to perform a mitzvah. This mitzvah of Zrizim Makdimin the mitzvahs is superior to, surpasses, overshadows the B'roiv Am, which means that if you have a chance to perform a mitzvah with a lot of people, it means you're giving more kavod to Hashem. The kavod to the king is enhanced. There are more people doing it. You have a chance to do it with a lot of people, or you have a chance to do it earlier with less people. What's greater, doing it earlier with less, or doing it later with more? The Gemara says, if you recall, the basis for that din is Hallel. We say Hallel for Shachas, even though there are people who come late to shul. Hallel, giving praise to the king, praise to Hashem. Better to give praise to Hashem Shachas earlier with less people, rather than wait until Musaf and do it with more people. So we see befedish that the reason Magdimin, doing a mitzvah earlier, faster, is more important than doing it with a lot of people. Therefore, rather than wait for Maitzoi Shabbos, or rather than wait for a night where you'll have a lot of people, a big million, better to do it earlier, to be zerch, to be one of the earlier people, and do it even without a large crowd. What about the halacha itself? Besides this, the halacha of a number of days. What is the din in Shulchan Aruch? The din, as we said, the Mechaber says that a person should wait, he should not be mekadosh till after 7 days have passed.
Shulchan to talking about a full shlema. We're talking about a full shlema and oisha v'oisha. Seid gesund und stark und seid matzliach, beruchnius und begashmius. Now, again, then the Shana comes up. Chabad says not going to be Kaddish until after 7 days. However, we find the other poskim discuss this. For example, the Magen Avraham, the Taz, the Chadosh, say it is permissible in Kaddish Levana after 3 days. The Bach, the Vilna Gaon say, the Fedish, you should not wait till 7 days. The Dafka, you should hurry and do it after 3 days. There you have days which say not to give a lot after 3 days. You should hurry Dafka and do it after 3 days, not after 7. Like the Yad Rama says that Fedish, he writes that after 1 day, even, it is better. 1 day, it's already is man, which means the earlier the faster you do. The thing is that he said, since we have a lot of places who say 3 days, Tikuney Zohar also says 3 days. Arizal writes in Aharon, and this is the confusion, because Kuti Halachas he writes that you should wait 7 days. The reason is a very solid one, because the Shiva the Kiyam, in order to become pure, to have the mating, the Yichud, have to have the 7 days of waiting, Shiva the Kiyam. So it would seem to appear the Arizal would favor 7 days. But Arizal says the Fedish, very strong language that we do not wait 7 days. He said, look in the Shulchan, you see, it says the Fedish after 3 days is enough. You rush to do the mitzvah, which is so vital, so important, so outstanding in importance, Well, my people understood how great this mitzvah was, because the whole kiyum of the Jews is based on this type of mitzvah, where we follow the pattern of the Levana. Just as the Levana decreases in size as it goes along until it disappears and it seems that it's gone, and then all of a sudden begins to rise, blossom forth, and grow. That's the nature of the Jews in Golis. They seem to dwindle, and suddenly they begin to flourish. There's no way that you can erase them, so they follow this pattern of the Levana, Shekhinah, together with the Shekhinah constantly. Rosenfeld says, therefore, that the 3 days no longer should be spent before Kiddush Levana. So we can understand then that the key word, we put the halachas is, Arizal writes there that after 7 days, the Levana should have Mimi Kiddush. He said, because that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. Why would he add a sentence like that? That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. That sentence is an absolute giveaway for a person who has eyes. Will open his eyes and look and see. Of course, this whole Halacha is based on Shulchan Aruch. Why does he say that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch? Just tell us this is the Halacha. Halacha and Shulchan Aruch. But there's the Halacha and there's the Maisa. The Maisa, as it says in the Chaim Aran. Halacha is true, very nice, wait 7 days, you're a kiyum. But the Maisa, if you're a good Jew who does mitzvahs fast, you want to do the mitzvah properly, you want to rush into it and do the extra credit. These are my demon, and do not wait more than 3 days. Now, the thing nowadays is, in Eretz Yisrael, there too we have a controversy. Eretz Yisrael is a big controversy. There's a split up the groups among the Breslov, some who refuse to be Kaddish Levana before 7 days, unless it comes out on Motzei Shabbos. Shabbos comes out before 7 days, and then that will allow Kiddush Levana then. It didn't say so too in Shahar. Motzei Shabbos is that important that you can do before 7 days. Otherwise, they wait 7 days. In fact, even after 7 days, they wait. Until Shabbos comes out, let's say the 7th day is Thursday. Wednesday or Thursday, they'll wait already until Motzei Shabbos, the 10th day, to be Kaddish Levana. This is what's done in Yerushalmi by many. Their contention is, the logical reason for it is, the reason that Arizal was so particular, Nosson was so particular in saying after 3 days, was because the mitzvah is so choshev that has to show to lose this mitzvah is too great a loss, too severe a loss for a person to sustain. Therefore, there is no way a person should take that risk. But where is it a risk? It's a risk in Chutz La'aretz. Outside of Eretz Yisrael, where most countries, practically all countries, there's a danger of rain, clouds, cloudiness. There's a danger that what the Bureau would say, fair, which means that you'll have clouds, the sky will be covered, you won't see the moon. So if you let the time go by, then you can have a series of days and nights where it's completely cloudy. This happens many times. So that the time could go by, the person could lose out. Therefore, you must take advantage of the earliest possible time to assure yourself you've done the mitzvah. And then Eretz Yisrael, where you have an assurance of clear skies during most of the months of the year, even in the winter months, you never have a long series of days of steady, constant cloudiness. Even in the winter, when it rains for days on end, the sky is clear. Especially on Wednesday, when the sun and moon started to shine. So Wednesdays it is known that always the sun will come out. Never a time on Wednesday when the sun doesn't shine, at least for a moment, even on cloudy days, rainy days. And the moon always comes out that night, so this is an Eretz Yisrael. So therefore they feel that for that reason it is better to fulfill, since you have an assurance you're going to have the mitzvah, you might as well also have the Motzei Shabbos, B'Reivam, with the 7 days, fulfill all he did. The other faction, the other side, this is a lot of Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael. In fact, you'd say the majority of Gedolim and the rest of the Canaan follow that reasoning, and the vast majority of the Tzadim, the younger ones, follow the leader in this case. The Chaim is the one exception. not being one, there are four. But it says that Rosenfeld says, Kimol Yomen, Lisa Magdiman, no matter where you are, if you're in Uman, or you're in Iran, or you're in Yerushalmi, you got to fulfill Lisa Magdiman. You're smart, a Jew rushes to a mitzvah, be a Zodas. A Zodas, with this guy, you gain. You get special schar for it. So, therefore, his minig is 3 days, and that's the minig we've always held to in Yerushalmi. I'm not sure, but I think, if I recall, the Arizal minig also was 3 days in Yerushalmi too. In any event, for us, surely, there's no question about it, that we have to keep in mind, be alert, to be mekadosh to one of the earliest possible moments. To know when the Moilad is, and 3 days from the Moilad, mekadosh Levana, of course, it must be done at night. After dark, you have enough from the Levana. But that's the reason I think the mitzvah is, that's exclusively Zerah to see the Miburi Levana, only the Gimta Levana, there will be a complete correction. The Levana will come back to its original form, original light, with the coming of Mashiach and Kenu, and the Shekhinah will come back from Golos, the Zerah to see, the Shel of one of the Gulam, the Bnei Beis Mikdash, and Hega, Amen.
Kiddush Levana. There's one Kiddush Levana, as we said. Again, Halacha L'maisa is preferably immediately after 3 days. After the 3rd day, the Kiddush Levana, not to wait any longer. Also, if possible, might say Shabbos Kiddush. It's preferable too. But always to keep in mind the fact that Zanisa Makdim in the mitzvah is greater than any other point involved. And it says that Friday night and Yom Tov there's no Kiddush Levana. For example, after 3rd day is Friday night. This mikveh, this Chodesh, now we have Friday night is the 3rd day. The meaning is not to be Kaddish Friday night, and then you have Saturday night and Sunday night is Yom Tov. There's no Kiddush Levana on Yom Tov either, which means you can't be Kaddish till after Shavuos is over. However, what is the deal with Friday night? What's the reason why Friday night is Osir? A number of Tamim given. Most of them are Pi Kabbalah. The Shulchan himself offers a reason. Says that because the minig is that Kiddush Levana, there are Rikudim, they dance after Kiddush Levana, and the Rikudim are Osir on Shabbos. It's an Isa to dance on Shabbos because of a Shaila, music, Sakin Klei Shir, and so forth. Although on Shabbos, in Shem Mitzvah, it is permissible to dance, and it says that's only if it's neged the Shabbos itself. Kiddush Levana could be postponed for another day. You can put it off till Mitzvah Shabbos. So therefore, you don't have the header of dancing then on Friday night. That's one reason given. The second reason given by most posek is that just like there are techumen lamata, as an Isa techum, 2,000 amos is the boundary line that limit the person to go outside of the city in a horizontal direction. So too are there techumen lamala. Now, since the Levana is more than 2,000 amos away, you cannot greet the Levana, Kabul Pnei Levana, which is outside of the Tchum, on Friday night, on Shabbos, or Yom Tov. Therefore, it should be postponed. Unless, it says unless, if, let's say, Friday night is the last night to be Kaddish Levana, and the person is desperate, then surely he's allowed to be Kaddish Levana Friday night. Of course, you got to be careful not to carry any sitter outside. You have to know by heart, or to be Kaddish on your balcony, where you're under the sky. But only if it's Shazat Chak, if it's the last night, or it's close to the last night, there's a danger, then you'll have to make Kaddish Friday night. Otherwise, it should be avoided. It's interesting to note that Radha, Prague, lived in the time of, after the Arizal, lived in the time of just around the time of Shiva Kodesh. He writes that he does not accept this time of Tchumen, Chutz L'Tchum, Kabel Pnei Levana, Chutz L'Tchum, says that's very far-fetched. Because if that's the case, you see your friend who's standing outside of the Tchum, you're not allowed to say shalom to him, you're not allowed to greet him. He's outside of the Tchum. What's the easily be Kabel with anyone who's outside of the Tchum? Therefore, he says, surely this Isa does not apply, and if there's any reason whatsoever to be Kaddish on Friday night, then it should be permissible. Rashba goes further, says that when we Kaddish to Levana, we're not Bespal Hashem to the Levana, Bespal to Hashem. Even if the Levana is Chutz L'Tchum, surely Bespal to Hashem, like all hearts Kvoidai. Hashem is everywhere. So it's not trying to say Chutz L'Tchum, Malamei Asara, Tchumen, and so forth. Therefore, the Rashba says too, this reason does not apply. What then? The fact remains that it is still a minig, not to be Kaddish on Friday night and Shabbos, and Yom Tov. And of course, that minig would probably be due to the fact that they're afraid of a person carrying inadvertently. They allow it, the Arabim, or someone might be careless and carry, therefore it's better to avoid it. Yeah, a lot of people going outside the Kaddish Levana, some know by heart and some might forget. Therefore, there is a risk involved. Therefore, it is naturally better to avoid that risk. But in case there is a time when Friday night is towards the end of the time allowed to be Kaddish Levana, surely it is permissible to be Kaddish Levana on Friday night too. Kaddish Levana to be Yeshua of a happy month. It should be Zecher to be Kabel Anei Shiatz and Kenu. Peter, see the menu, it's like Shaila. Luchais v'shchaydish dinei kiddush levana. V'im kaddish levana. The order of kiddush levana is, this is very important to note before you start. Now, the most important part of kiddush levana, unquestionably, is the bracha, the first bracha, Tum Kaddish Kadoshim. That first bracha is the most important. The rest of the psukim afterwards will add. The person says that bracha, actually he's Yitzhak. The main part, Ikka Kiddush Levana, is Yitzhak. So it's that part that counts most. Now, the question is, before he's Mikdash Levana, he first has to see that there is a Levana. Maybe there's a cloud coming, maybe he's got the right direction. So we have first Haluka, small paragraph, we say before Kiddush Levana, and then just before saying Baruch, beginning the bracha, he should put his feet together, stand at attention, look at the Levana for a second, see that it's there, and then say the bracha. Turn away and say the bracha. But that's the last time he's supposed to look at the Levana. Before starting the bracha, he looks at the Levana. He is not allowed to turn back to look at the Levana again during the Kiddush Levana. The Zohar Kodesh says that looking at the Levana in general is not that much permissible. You cannot look or stare at the moon. You want to see the man in the moon, see the face in it, and so on. Of course, the Zohar Kodesh says, Tikuney Zohar says there is a face in the moon. There is a man in the moon, which means the face in the moon. That is the face of Yaakov Avinu. So we have the psukim afterwards. Psukim afterwards spell out Yaakov. But the looking at the moon itself, as we know, is the Malchus, is the Shekhinah. Therefore, since this is the Shekhinah, it is something holy, it's forbidden for a person to stare at the moon, just as a person cannot look at the hands of the Kahanim when they duchen, because the Shekhinah rests upon it, even though he cannot see the Shekhinah, he's looking at the place of the Shekhinah, which is forbidden. So too in the case of the moon, he's allowed to look and see, for the mitzvah to see that it's there, to stare at the moon in general, not to. In fact, there are those who fear that those who looking at the moon at night turns a person into at midnight, turns him into something else. In any event, that's not far from the truth. Because a person, says a person could do things that are not too sane, could cause a person to do things that are not too sane. So, because there are those who don't even do to do it, but the moon sort of helps out. So, because of the fact that the moon represents the Shekhinah, a person should not stare at the moon. Certainly in the time of Kiddush Levana, one glance, see it's there, turn away, do not turn back to look at the moon again during the entire Kiddush Levana. What is most important too, this is a pity that many people who are, too many are not aware of this. It then states explicitly, in very strong terms, the person says Kiddush Levana, you're supposed to turn away from the moon. You're not supposed to face the moon. Because that's, I think, always. Looks like a person is davening to the moon, worshiping the stars. The moon is one of the stars. So a person should be very careful when he says Kiddush Levana not to face the moon. Generally, if he does Kiddush Levana the right time, beginning of the month, the moon is in the west. No problem, you face the east. If the person is late, the moon is already more towards the east, he still should turn away from it enough of an angle where he's not facing the moon during the time of saying Kiddush Levana. I think it is that you should know that this represents Kabbalah's Bnei Ashchina, represents the figure of the star history of the Jews, and the lot of the Jews, just as the kiruv, the moon's fulfillment, and Gimel Hashem fulfilled, so too should the Jews become complete with the return to Jerusalem, the boundaries in Eretz Yisrael, which was able to see immediately beginning Salavana and the Shalavana and Gulam, Jews protected Eretz Yisrael with the Shekhinah together, becoming a Mashiach and Canaan, and the Beis Mikdash and later Kiddush Levana. After the bracha, which is the most important part of the Kiddush Levana, we say 3 times Baruch Yitzrech, Baruch Yitzrech, Baruch Kenech, Baruch Ledech. The Shetevus of Yaakov. This is what he said. Yaakov is the symbol of the Levana, the symbol of the Am Yisrael, the Kodesh. And then we vacate, as we jump slightly towards the Levana, we say Kishem Shehineged Knegdech, just as I am hopping or jumping towards you, it's impossible, I cannot touch you. So too, my enemies never able to touch me. They do me any harm. Of course, this is said 3 times, and this is part of the tefillah that was composed by the Anshe Knesset Agdela, composed by the Chazal, who knew everything, and knew that this tefillah was till Mashiach comes. No way I could touch the moon. I can jump towards you, I can hop towards you, I can satellite towards you, rocket ship towards you, Sputnik towards you, but there's no way I can ever get to touch you. That's what it says here, and that's what we believe. Just as we cannot touch the moon, so too should our enemies not be able to do us any harm. And we say, but fall upon them, before them, we fear, pachad, and terror, then be cut off completely, and then meaning is to turn and say to Sahaba, Shalom Aleichem, 3 times. The reason for this is that after we have said these words, these are all words of very severe kolis. We curse all the enemies, let them be cut off, let them be destroyed, be wiped out. We we say this is all for the goyim, but for you, the Chavruta says, you shalom aleichem, you there should be peace, and he receives the greetings in return, lechem shalom. This is said 3 times too. It says it to 3 different people. If there are no 3 people there, then he says it to 1 person 3 times. That person replies 3 times. Then that person says then 3 times and he replies in return. He said 3 times whether 3 people or to 1 person 3 times. And the similar type of muscle type and so on. Then the Baraisa of Yishmael. And finally after Kiddush Lohana we say Aleinu. Aleinu Shabbat, because that's the tefillah of Yeshua. The words of Yeshua is B'nai Yeshua, B'nai Lavana. Yeshua is the Lavana, of course, is the symbol of the perfect Talmud. Lavana receives everything from the Son. Remember, the Son is the symbol of Moshe Rabbeinu. The Son is Yaakov Avinu, again, of course, we said before that Yaakov Avinu represents the moon in a different respect. The Son is Zaynatan, which at least the sense is Zaynatan, Yaakov Avinu. So yes, in the Pneumius is Moshe Rabbeinu, as the Zaydi Kodesh says, the moon in turn is the Talmud that receives, and that is the symbol, the Gemara said, Mabasa of Yeshua. Therefore, because of the Kaddish Navana, we say the Tefillah of Yeshua, which is Lena Shabbayah. Also, of course, the moon is, you find that moon bowed to Yosef HaTzadik, and Yeshua is the grandchild of the descendant of Yosef HaTzadik, therefore it's his moon. That's why too we say like, after the Kiddush Navana is over, then we move the klipos. Klipos that attach itself to the corners. Corners, in this case, we take the corners of the 2 front corners of the telescope. They got the 2 front, not the sitters, but the kanfos, the konov. We hold on to the corners, 2 front corners of the telescope, and we shake them, shaking off the klipos, the tumais, which leaves us completely pure after we have rid ourselves of all types of tumais and enemies. Now we have left only with the tefillah. We hope to see the Aharon Kerachama, Yeshua is Iglesias, when we come, including the posek in Menachem Mendel Schneerson, to see this fulfilled, coming Mashiach Kenu, when it is paid up. In a Kiddush Lavona, we said the time when you're allowed to start the Kiddush Lavona is after the 3 days are over. Not 3 days of the month, but 3 days from the Milad, the time that the new Lavana is born, the birth of the new moon. That time on exactly 3 days later. If it comes out by day, of course, 3 days later you have to wait until night. You kind of only after dark. But 3 days from the time of the Milad. Sometimes it comes out at a certain time at night. Let's say a late hour, the Milad would be at 10 p.m. And of course at 10 p.m. it's too late to have the moon out, because when the moon is first born, it comes out by day and it sets in the evening. You won't get it that late. If it works out exactly, then it's after the 3 days are over, you'll have any Kaddish Lavana. But the question is, until when? When is the last final time for Kiddush Lavana? The answer is, this says that, according to the Ramah, that the month goes according to the Lavana from birth to birth, which means the period that the Lavana lasts, beginning to end. That's exactly 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 halakim. There are 1,080 halakim to the hour. Chelik means a part. 1,080 halakim to the hour. Each chelik is exactly 3 1/3 seconds. Hence, 3 1/3 times 1,080 gives you 3,600 seconds to the hour. 60 minutes times 60 seconds. Simple. 1,080 halakim to the hour. Now, in this case then, it's 793 halakim. Again, the length of the month is 29 days, 12 hours, 793 halakim, means 793 1,080ths of an hour, which is approximately 44 minutes. That's the length of a month. Of the moon. The time for Kiddush Levana is only when the moon has been Milua, when the moon is growing, not when it starts to decrease. The moon grows, begins at its birth, and it becomes larger each day until exactly the middle of the month. When it reaches the middle point, that's when it's exactly a full moon. The next second it begins to start decreasing in size, until at the end of the month it disappears entirely. In the first half of the month, the moon grows, increases in size. The second half of the month, the moon decreases. Therefore, in the first half of the month only is when you're alive in Kaddish Levana. A half of 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 halakim is 14 days, 18 hours, and 396 and a half halakim, which is about 22 minutes, half of 44 minutes. So it's about 14 days, 18 hours, 22 minutes. That's according to the law. In other words, if it's, you know exactly when the murder was, the new moon was born, you go up to that point, exactly half of the month, that's when you can Kaddish Levana. If that comes out by day, of course, that means that the night before was the last one. According to the Mechaber says that the Tikuney, it was raining, it was cloudy, and the person is heartbroken, he missed the chance up to the middle point. We count a day as a whole day. We give him a break. Instead of saying up to 14 hours, 14 days, 18 hours, 22 minutes, we give him the whole 15th day, the night of the 15th day. So there, the Chabad Mekel, because of the importance, the Chashivas of this mitzvah, that even the night of the 15th day also, it is permissible to be Kaddish Levana. And this is the Mesa, this is done because there are even some who say that the night of the 16th day also you can go out and be Kaddish Levana. You're not Yitzhak, of course, but you shouldn't forget about this. You Kaddish Levana, go out and do it without saying the bracha. There are some too who say, very simply, the night of the 15th day is a suffix, or even the night of the 16th day, which is forbidden, you can still do it with a trick. What's the trick? The trick is that Kiddush Levana is actually Gemara. It's the words of the Gemara. Rav said, first season Levana, when it's new moon, should say, since today is that of Shavuos, we do the dinner of Shavuos. Then is especially first dinner of Shavuos is that Mariv, the evening of Shavuos, which means the end of the 49th day of the Einar, that Mariv should be davened late, definitely when the day is completely over. Because it says, in the Torah, you have to count 49 days. It says Tamimos, Shavuos Tamimos, 7 weeks, complete weeks. 7 weeks are completed. If you daven Marav a few minutes early, it means there's a part missing from these 49 days. It must be completely over with, finished. The first night then, Magid must be davened on time to complete the 49 days. And then, after it's completed, the Yentayt of Shavuos officially starts, which is the 50th day, and that day is Kabbalah Satayra.
Eretz Yisrael, Shavuos is just one day. That's the day in which the Torah was received. On the first day of Shavuos, we learn the Parsha of Kabbalah HaTorah, the Aseret HaDibros. Prior to that, we sing the special tefillah, the Akdamas. Just before we begin to learn, say the Akdamas. It all says is so important, so vital, so outstanding a tefillah that even the tune itself is universally known and respected and should be acknowledged as one of the most important treasures that the Jews possess. On the second day, Kriyas HaTorah is called a chayiv, but before that we read the story of Rus, because Rus is the story of one who converted, who showed a sacrifice of dedication, a strong desire to accept the Torah, accept the mitzvahs of the Torah. No matter who it is, no matter how far a person is, even if it's a goy who comes to convert, one who wants to accept the Torah is readily welcomed. Here we see that even her name signifies that, symbolizes it. Because as a goy has 7 mitzvahs, a Havdalah Jew has 613. That's why she was called Rus, because Rus is numerically 606. That means that she accepted upon herself an additional 606 mitzvahs to become a Jew, hence the name Rus. Also on the first day, to show the Kedusha of the first day, after the Kriyas HaTorah, the Haftarah is the Meiser Merkava of Yecheskel. Merkava is one of the deepest of the secrets of Kabbalah. The vision that Yecheskel Hanavi saw in the Merkava, Meiser Merkava, which consists of the Daled Raglei HaMerkava, Kaviyachol, the 4 parts of the throne of Hashem. The Zohar Kodesh says they are the Gimel Ovois, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and David HaMelech, the 4th, the Regel HaMerkava, the Malchus, and also the David Malachim, the Kavai Argomon, the Zohar Kodesh, the posek Shir Hashirim, the Kavai Argomon. Argomon is Uriel, the foil, Gabriel, Michael, Uriel. That's the Merkava. Of course, we show also what the Merkava is actually the Nukva. So it's Kaviyachal Hashem, who is the Torah Shemasav, who rides on. Merkava, the throne, is the Torah Shebapeh. The words are Gomon, Gemara, Dun. So the Torah Shebapeh is the Merkava of Kaviyachal Hashem, the Torah Shemasav. But both are inseparable. This is the haftir for the first day. Kriyas HaTorah itself, there is something special. Kriyas HaTorah, we said we learn the Aseret HaDibros. Again, the Megillah, the Talmud there are very special. The Talmud is called the Talmud Ha'elyon. It's not the Talmud you see in the Chumash, if you know Trop. It's a special set of Talmud that make up the 10 Dibros as 10 Psukim. Each one of the Aseret HaDibros becomes a posek. In the Chumash, you find a varied variety of Psukim. One of the Dibros could have a number of Psukim. Then together to comprise one posek. But a Tam Ha'elyon divides each one of the Aseret HaDibros into a separate posek, which means a total of 10 psukim, each one with a safe posek. That's the difference between, again, a loy sirtzach, loy tirtzoch. The safe posek has it covers. There are many reasons for this. This is not the time for it. We once went through in detail more about this. But because Shavuos is a Yom Tov, because it is read the Tzibur, therefore we learn the Tam Ha'elyon, the Aseret HaDibros on Shavuos. There are some whose minig is because the Mishnah says that there are different times in the year that are called Day of Judgment, Yom Hadin.
Mishnah says, "Ba'atzeres nidonim al ironim al pegas ha'ilon." On Shavuos, there's a heavenly judgment about the fruit of trees. What kind of a crop, what kind of a produce will come forth that year. So therefore, there are some whose minig is to show this fact. They bring branches, or they place trees in the shul around the Aron Kodesh. They put up small trees, branches, leaves, sort of give a spring, a summer atmosphere, and with the point that this is the day in which the trees are judged. This is the meaning of some shuls. The Vilna Gaon is very adamant, strong about being about this. Stop this meaning, and of course, in most of the shuls that are more particular, the minig became bottled completely. As we said that this is a minig of Goyim, the Chagah, the Goyim, on their unholy day, they have trees. They set up those trees. And of course, the symbol of trees is their unholy day. We're not supposed to do anything to emulate that, even though it's a different day, a different reason, but as long as it is something similar to the act of the Goyim, therefore it should be definitely avoided. That's what the Holy Guy says. Of course, we've seen that in Eretz Yisrael there are places where they do it. And that's the simple reason in Eretz Yisrael, most of them have never heard of that unholy day. Baruch Hashem, they never see it. Now, because of the tourists at the end of the year, they see something like that, but it doesn't bother them in their Lincoln Piata. So they're not aware of that at all. In fact, if they even see the words, that's Chagah, they don't know what it is. So much better off they are with that. In any event, here in America, it's probably better not to have those trees in the shul for the reason of the Vilna Gaon. Finally, there is a minig to eat milchiks on Shavuos. We stress once more. On Shavuos, you have 4 sudas that are chiyuv, absolute chiyuv. It is sudas yenkov. It is so much so the chiyuv that if a person forgets to say Yalav Yava, he must repeat the entire Bekas HaMazon. So that, since this is a chiyuv, mitzvahs sudas yenkov is only fleishiks. A person does not get the mitzvah for eating a meal on Yontav unless he has meat. In fact, the Pnimi Yodim says that if a person eats chicken, he's not Yetzer. It's good to have chicken too, but the Yetzer, the mitzvah of Sudas Yontav, you must have dafkin bosa bahinu. So therefore, we cannot allow, as for Shalom, to say that Shavuos is a milchig Yontav and have only dairy throughout both days of Shavuos, or throughout the first day of Shavuos. The only time that milchik is permitted, custom is Shavuos morning, only Shavuos morning. That one meal of the 4. In fact, as we mentioned in Eretz Yisrael, where there's only one day, that one meal is half of the Shavuos Yontav. So their custom is like the Ramos says. Ramos says, why do we eat a milchik meal on Shavuos? What's the reason why we have milchiks? Very many reasons mentioned. Is like honey and milk, because they came back from Har Sinai. They had no time to prepare meals, and it's easy to get a dairy meal put together. Women were lazy, whatever. But the reason was why halacha-wise they follow that custom, because just as on Pesach, remember that Pesach and Shavuos are tied together by the counting of the Yom. These 49 days and the 50th day. On Pesach we have the Shnei Tavshilin. On Pesach Seder plate we have the Korban Pesach and Korban Chagiga, 2 Tavshilin. So too on Shavuos we have the 2 Tavshilin. 2 Tavshilin, or similar to it, we have one is Chalav and one is Bosa. However, we show that we are different than the Malachim who came to Avraham Avinu. Ate Basar and Chalav. Because of that, they were forced to stay down on earth. They couldn't go back to heaven for many, many years, decades. We are different. We have a day to eat first Chalav, first milk, and then meat, not Chas to mix the two. However, since we need since we have two kinds, cholov and then basar, you must have two different breads for these two types of food. Two breads, that's the shnei lachamim, special on Shavuos, you have the club and the shnei lachmei taida, two breads of taida on Shavuos. Therefore we comply with the shnei lachem by having these two kinds of meat. Now these two